Today with Georgia Shaffer. I am very excited to have her here with us. So I think this is the first time that she's been here on a live where you've been in person. So it is great to have you here today. And so today we're going to be talking about building emotional resilience. Would you like
Yes.
to introduce yourself?
I'm Georgia Shaffer, a professional certified coach and author and a licensed psychologist in Pennsylvania. And I like to help people cultivate resilience.
That is awesome. And so I have been studying and learning a lot about emotional resilience myself. We hear that word so much flashed around in our culture, but sometimes we don't really know what does it mean to have emotional resilience. Can you tell me what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, that's really important. When we're talking about resilience, we're talking about the ability to bounce back, the ability to overcome really devastating situations, adapt, our ability to cope and adapt from setbacks, shattered dreams, trauma. And it's not an overnight experience, but most people think you're either resilient or you're not. And that's not true. We can all develop resilience. We can all cultivate our ability to bounce back. The Apostle Paul says, we get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. And I think that's what we got to remember. We get knocked down. We think we can't get back up, but we can.
Yes, I love that. And I love the fact that everybody can have emotional resilience. It's not something you're born with. It's either you have strength or you're not. It's something you can develop.
Yeah.
So why is it important to build emotional resilience? Resilience.
If we don't build that character trait, then we just want to give up. And we've all had those moments where this is too hard, I'm too tired. But especially as Christians, we need that ability to persevere, to keep on keeping on. So if we don't have resilience, we'll just want to give up. And again, it's hard, but we can develop these characteristics and we can rely on God even when we think, we're not going to make it.
Yes, I definitely need to build more emotional resilience in my life. I'm sure everybody else listening can resonate with that too. We've all felt, especially if you've been through trauma, there's points where you just like, God, I want to give up. This is too hard. And so I'm excited to hear a little bit more. And I see somebody saying hello. So hello. And if anybody else is here, please say hello and tell us where you are commenting from. It's always fun to hear where everybody's listening in from. So can you tell us what are some ways we can build emotional resilience?
There's all kinds of ways, but first of all, as I just said, you got to recognize perseverance, the ability to endure is crucial. And so, in the summer, one hot day gets us down a little, but it's day after day, week after week of 105 degrees. And it's the same thing with difficult times. It's that sadness that doesn't go away in a day, a week, or even a month. And
Hmm.
it's saying, yeah, this is hard. Realizing this is hard. Realizing, we got to fight the good fight. We got to keep the faith. But we can't rely on ourselves. We have to rely on God, who alone can save us and help us endure.
Yes, I love that. Relying on God. So, what are some key scriptures that you have found that you remember to help you have emotional resilience when life knocks you down?
Yeah, can I just go back a minute? I want to say the importance of developing as resilience is don't isolate yourself. Don't
Mm.
isolate yourself from God. Don't isolate yourself from others because we're hurt in relationships, but we can also heal in relationships. And we need those life giving, nurturing, encouraging relationships. And we have to minimize that those aren't. And I want to say self-compassion is really important. It's not a time to beat ourselves up. There is no condemnation in Christ. So instead of saying what's wrong with me during these tough times when we feel like we can't get back up, what is right with me? What can I learn from this situation? That is so crucial. So you ask about a scripture. Well, I go back to the Apostle Paul again. And he talks about, we thought we were facing the sentence of death. He said, well, I don't, we don't know that we're going to even live through that. But he said that was good because it caused us not to rely on ourselves, but on God, who alone could save us.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And that is so counterintuitive, I feel like, than what culture Christianity has taught. It's a relying on God. Sometimes a mind quote that keeps hitting my mind is, "You faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." And it's easy to feel very overwhelmed, and you think, "Oh, my strength is just small. I can't do this because I'm fainting." But in reality, we look at Paul and we're like, he would technically almost fainted in the day of adversity and realize that it was only Christ that can sustain him. So I so appreciate you sharing that and
Yeah.
helping us knock down that lie.
Yeah. And when we're weak, we're strong. And the reason we're strong is because then not only can we see what God can do and how he can get us through it, we can
Mm.
rely on him, but others can see Christ and in our lives.
Yes, thank you. What are some of the emotions that you especially notice that hinder someone's ability to cope and one day bounce back?
Being stuck in self-pity. And we
Mm,
all have those moments where we want to lick our wounds, but we can't stay there. We can't dwell in self pity. If we think we are the only one who's ever suffered, if we believe, we're not going to get past this because this is way too hard, this is way too devastating, then we stay in a victim. And let's face it, being a victim's a reality. Many of
mhm.
us have been victimized, but we have to, again, not dwell in that self pity, but be willing to, again, rely on God, rely on the help of others. Sometimes we need professional help, but we
Yes.
got to move beyond that. And then the other thing is, we often get stuck in holding on to grudges and resentments. And the
Hmm.
problem with that, it weighs us down, it burdens us. We don't have any energy to move forward because we're carrying that weight. And so daily, we got to ask ourselves, what am I upset about? Did somebody hurt me today? Am I jealous about someone? And
Hmm.
I feeling greedy. Daily we gotta not let these things build up, not hold on to these grudges, but release them.
Oh, I love that. Daily. You got to daily let it go.
That's not
Thanks.
easy.
No, it's not. Sometimes you're just like, I'm just gonna go to bed tonight and I'll deal with it tomorrow. And then it's the next day and you're like 3 days later and you're like, this is way overwhelming because I shoved it down and didn't want to deal with it. And
Yeah,
yes,
been
daily.
there.
Thank you. What are two things you learned about the process of resilience and beginning anew you never understood before you had to get back up after several losses?
Well, my personality part of it is get it done, try to be that white knight on a horse, fix everything. And not only did I learn I couldn't fix everything, but it wasn't going to happen as fast as I
Hmm.
wanted. So what I realized during those difficult times is you can only handle so much of the pain at a time, and
Yes.
that it has to be a little by little situation. And this journey is not an overnight journey. It
Mm-mm.
takes far longer than any of us ever think possible. So, because it takes long, we got to do little things in this process to give us a sense of hope, a hint of relief. It might be temporary, and we might go back into that sadness and that intense emotional pain. But what brings you a sense of hope and relief? For me, it's God's creation, getting outside of
Yes.
my world and focusing on His. So it's realizing you can only handle the pain a little bit at a time. And it was also realizing this was going to be a long journey.
Thank you. And why we're going to next couple of questions are going to be addressing the people and encouraging them too that are listening. While we're here, if you want to drop in the comments, maybe what are some ways and places that you find um, great to kind of escape to and be able to step away from the pain and just be able to process and receive beauty and good and joy in your life. For me, that definitely is nature too. I love nature, any form of nature, mountains, the beach, all of it. So I'd love to hear some of the places that maybe you enjoy going to find joy. Um, and so, what would you say to somebody who wants to begin to cultivate resilience but is unsure where to begin?
Yeah. First of all, I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Do not isolate yourself. We're hurt in relationships, but guess what? We're healed in relationship. So you gather those people around you, you draw close to Christ, those people that are going to encourage you to help you focus on God and the truth and not believe the lies that everybody's throwing at you or Satan himself is throwing at you to take you out of the game. And then
Mm-hmm.
you want to cultivate self compassion. And that is not being critical of yourself, not beating yourself up, as I mentioned earlier. And then the phrase, not yet. Uh, you haven't bounced back yet, but that doesn't mean you never will. It just
Yes.
hasn't happened yet.
Thank you. That's really good. That was helpful. So much giving yourself so much self-compassion and grace. I love that. Thank you. Your workshop, because I mentioned that she's going to be a speaker at the Call to Peace Ministries retreat. He makes all things new, April 7th through the 10th, and we are excited. At her workshop, her topic is going to be on spiritual principles for a better tomorrow. And can you give us a few examples of what you'll be covering in that session?
We're going to be talking about creating holy habits, habits that'll give us a higher level of faith, hope, and love, so that we can again go through these things. And part of those holy habits are living within your limitations, whether that be your physical, your financial limitations. But we're also going to be talking about how do we learn with the uncertainty when we look in the future and we can't see things get any better and we constantly are ambushed by anxiety. How do
Mm-hmm.
we experience the peace of God? How do we deal with that in a healthy way? We're going to talk about collective joy, collective pain. And I think this is what Called to Peace. I know last year I experienced this at the Called to Peace retreat. Is when you're a group of people who are focused on the Lord and his healing power and in encouraging one another, there is a collective joy there that takes
Mm-hmm.
us to a higher level. So, yeah, there'll be more things, but that's some of the things I'm going to cover.
I am looking forward to that. That will be good. And so, if you haven't signed up for our retreat yet and you want to see Georgia Shaffer speak there, there is still room for you. And I can link that in the comments where to sign up to go to our retreat. And also, a reminder we are in our scholarship campaign month. So, right now, through the end of February, we're raising money for women who need scholarships to attend our retreat. So, a lot of times, women go through, as you know, domestic abuse, there's financial difficulties. And we want to be able to get them to a place where they can get the collective joy and be around community and feel seen and understood and validated and hear from you and be encouraged. And so if you can go, great, sign up too. But maybe if you can support somebody else, even a little bit of money helps. To be able to scholarship another woman that is not able to go due to financial restraints, that would be great. And so I was going to see, does anybody have any questions for Georgia? You can drop them in the comments. I love what Tina said here. Wow, only a little bit at a time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's the beach, ocean, and sunshine for me. I love that.
And Tina's in a good place where she
Yes.
lives. That's a beautiful area.
Yes, you can feel the sunshine anytime. I feel the sunshine state. I'm not seeing any questions here. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we close out?
I just think I want to come back to, yeah, you're knocked down and you feel like you're destroyed. But we need, as the Apostle Paul said, we need to fight the good fight. We need to keep the faith and we must finish well. So, is it easy? No, but
Mm-mm.
it's what shows others that Christ is real. And it's in these devastating times that we ourselves get to experience him, that we never get to experience him in the good times. We learn his presence and power in a mighty way.
Thank you. And we have a question here. If you have a moment, still from somebody in the comments, she says, how do you share with a support group or a group of friends your experience with an impressive husband?
Um,
Exactly.
what they're asking is people don't understand, and they don't
Yes.
feel they're heard, they don't feel they're believed. That's a common experience, and unfortunately, sometimes it's all too common within the church, that people think, you're just angry or you're just
Mhm.
depressed, and they give you all these reasons. And I think sometimes we can't convince people. Uh,
Mhm.
we ask the Lord through the Holy Spirit to show us how to share the truth. But I'd say in situations like that, if people aren't believing you, then I question if that's really a group that's supporting you, encouraging you. For example, in my coaching groups, everybody's in that kind of situation. There's
Mhm.
not an issue of trying to convince people of the oppressive situation we're in. So maybe the issue is finding a group of people who do understand what it's like,
Yes.
who are not thinking you're lying, you're exaggerating, you're just one angry person. But it is difficult when people don't believe you. So find a healing group.
I love that. Thank you for answering that so well. I just thought of the verse I read this morning in Acts, and he was talking about how that when they don't receive you, you shake the dust off your feet and you move on to a new town, a new group, a new community where you feel loved and seen. I know Georgia has groups like that, and we have groups, so there is places that you can connect.
Yeah, safe, loving, encouraging, caring people.
Yes, and you will get that at the retreat.
Yes,
So
you
that
will.
is one thing I look forward to at the retreat and reading all the testimonies is women saying, I feel like I was at home and felt accepted and loved for the first time. And sometimes maybe you'll be able to connect with other women. And I see another question popping up, so I'll answer that in a minute. Sometimes you feel very alone. And so just being able to connect in that group and connect with other women that maybe live near you that are at the retreat as well. And talking to people like Georgia and finding out what she offers as well as far as coaching groups and safe places. And there is another question here. It says, how do I find a healing group?
All right, start out by praying to the Lord. Called to Peace. That's a healing
Mm.
group. I'll tell you, I was so encouraged last year at the Called to Peace retreat. It wasn't this oppressive spirit. These were women who knew what it was like to suffer and who were supporting and talk about healing. And then there's coaching groups. I do a group on rebuild, but they are out there. You just don't want to give up. So start with Called to Peace.
Yes, and I will respond to your comment with a link to sign up for our support groups, where you can find a safe community to be able to process through what you've experienced. And I yes, I will answer that next question too. Is there a Facebook page set up for the retreat to see if there is ladies in our area? Yes, there is. I'm not sure. I think people are being added into it currently. That is our 2022 retreat page. I will respond to that in the comments as well. And then somebody responds back and says, heartbreaking when they don't believe you and shun you, totally ignoring you. Have been in that situation before. They never met my predator. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for what you've.
Oh, yeah. It's difficult. It's a form of persecution, that's for sure.
Yes. But it's good that we can find those safe groups and heal. And I know that was a huge part of my healing journey. I know one of the women that works and does coaching groups with you is part of my safe group originally, Betty. And I remember finding groups with women just to find safe places in Joy's group and finding places where people understood me and I didn't have to explain myself is so crucial because you're so emotionally drained. You don't need to be in situations where everybody's questioning you about everything. Like, what made him do that to you? What did you do? And then you're just re-triggered and re-traumatized and you can't get in a safe place to get out of that flee to flight response. So
Oh, yeah.
when you get to safety and safe
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, you wanna minimize and distance yourself from that kind of interaction.
Hmm. Yes. And even several years out, if I find that it's a situation where it's very triggering, I just say, you know what, this probably isn't the friendship for me, and that's okay. And it's okay to move on and find friends that you do feel accepted in. We do not, I think sometimes as a belief as a Christian is we feel like we have to be friends with everybody, and we don't. We can set boundaries. Jesus did as well.
Yeah, and another thing to add to that is we don't always understand. You talked about you were drained. We don't understand in these difficult, oppressive situations how drained we are, how depleted we are emotionally, physically, spiritually, at times, mentally. We're just drained. So we don't have the resources that people often do in daily life. And so it's even more important that we put ourselves around safe, encouraged, loving, truth telling women.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else that you want to add? I don't see any more questions in the comments. I can also link in the comments below, or I'll link actually in the top of the post, a link to your website too, so people can find and connect with you and the resources that you offer as well.
Yes. Well, that would be great. Yeah, we are always doing coaching groups of the same thing, but I'm not taking away from Call to Peace because that is a wonderful ministry.
Yes. Well, we're excited that you're coming to the retreat. I look forward to seeing you there. Yes, and somebody else is responding. We're getting a lot of comments here, so I want to make sure I acknowledge everybody. Yes, just agreeing. Everybody's saying that what they heard today is very helpful. Oh, and Joy's here. She's looking forward to seeing you in April too, she
Yeah,
says. Look
looking
forward to
forward
seeing.
to you.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and joining us. I am very excited to see you again at the retreat and hear what you have to share. Emotional resilience is something I need to continually be building in my life. So I'm looking forward to hearing those practical tips. And I always love what you shared too, bringing it back to what you said, not only healing in groups, but also finding places that we can find joy still in the midst of the healing process. So thank you for everything that you shared today. So if you are just joining, please go back and listen to the whole thing. She shared many wonderful nuggets today to help you build emotional resilience. So thank you for coming.
And I hope to see you in April at Call to Peace.
Yes. Well, everybody have a wonderful day. We'll see you later. Bye.